you are rather hot.
You
oh, wait,
are hot.
What are we talking
Yeah.
about? Wait.
Our sync up.
Oh, we got Carlton coming
Phrasing?
on.
Phrasing.
Phrasing.
Okay. We're live. What's going on?
We are live. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, let Carlton get on and get his Audacity running, and then you can sync us up.
Are you naked?
We will start the show.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Is that why we have a still picture?
I don't have a still picture.
I'd be happy to move around for you if you guys like.
Your videos aren't coming through for me yet.
Well, I didn't know it was that kind of party.
Absolutely, it's always that kind of party.
Oh my!
Oh, come on, I'm in at irreverentskeptics.com.
All right.
I'll be back at Irreverent.
All right, does everybody have their Audacity running now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sync us up, Mike.
Okay, at the count of three, everybody say glory hole.
You
One.
sure that's a good idea, being,
Yes.
Okay.
It's three and then glory hole. One,
we'll take two.
2, 3, glory
Glory
hole.
hole.
Glory hole.
All right, and we are ready to go.
All right then.
Jesus Christ. Already a
Well,
fucking
welcome
travesty. What the hell?
Welcome
Carl?
to the Irreverent Skeptics
Yeah.
podcast, which, by the way, we need theme music for.
Irreverent Skeptics.
Irreverence and skepticism.
It's where skepticism and irreverence do the nasty.
Oh my God.
And pretty
Oh,
soon
yeah.
our theme song is going to be First World Problems, so that's awesome.
So today's topic is sleep, and with us today is Mike Bowler,
Hello, everyone.
Michael McElroy,
Help us, God.
Erno,
Hello.
Carlton George,
Yeah.
Elizabeth Wyman, I think that's how you pronounce it.
You did, and you can call me Liz.
Okay. Dumbass from the Dumbass Media
What are
Empire.
you doing here?
Wake up, dumbass. Hang on.
Brandy
How many
Madison.
people?
I don't want to be totally naked. I'm putting my glasses on. Okay.
Brandy Madison.
Hello.
And I'm John Obi. Most of us are wearing our pajamas or something similar today.
Most of us
I'm
are wearing an
wearing my
article
pajama
clothing,
pants
at least.
and my robe.
CD pajamas.
I'm not. Oh, there he is.
I slept in these, so these are my pajamas from last night. So.
Yeah, these are
Now
not
I-
what I
now
slept
I
in
see
last
Carlton.
night, so
Carlton
that would
is
not be-
stands top. Please don't stand up, Carlton.
Sure.
Yeah.
We might get more viewers that way.
Yeah, go get
Or we
something
might
from the
from
fridge.
YouTube.
No.
I vaguely think that Johan was suggesting he was going to show up that way, too.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
canceled out after I told him we were recording for the podcast now. So.
We figured one naked body was enough.
Yeah, I'm
More
sure.
Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. Oh, wow.
Well, no,
Start
I'm
right
not
off. That's
volunteering
fine.
my naked body.
That's fine.
There's enough Carlton to last us all, apparently.
There is. Would you like to see it all?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
Sorry, Jesus.
Moderation, my friend, moderation.
Moderation.
All right, so today we're talking about sleep,
Are we? I'm
Trust-
skeptical.
we are.
Trust
which
me.
is fitting for the pajama party.
I just
suppose.
wanted to say, trust me there, John. According to my wife, even if I were to stand up and reveal all, I still wouldn't exceed moderation. So.
I don't know what to say to that. I'm usually really quick with a
Please,
witty
Praise
comment,
more
but-
comedy. You want people
Jesus.
to laugh instead of cringe.
No, just like really, I usually have something witty to say to that. I'm like, that caught me off guard. I don't know. So what is sleep? From healthysleep.med.harvard.edu, we all have at least a vague notion of what sleep is, but that doesn't mean that
Wait.
defining this mysterious part of our lives is simple. After all, detailed analysis of our own sleep isn't really an option, given that we rarely know when we're sleeping when we're asleep. And even if we observe the sleep of others, so much of what they experience changes the functions of their brains and bodies is not easily seen from the outside. So some of the things that characterize sleep are changes in brain wave activity, breathing, heart rate, body, and temperature. Other characterizations of sleep include reduced physical activity, typically associated with lying down and closed eyes. Sleep results in a decrease to external stimuli, generally anyway. And sleep is a state that is generally relatively easy to reverse, which distinguishes sleep from states like coma or hibernation, which are other reduced consciousness states. So, I've got a list of myths and facts about sleep, so these should be fun. And if you have an extra one to throw in there, please do. So myths and facts about sleep. Number 1, snoring is a common problem, especially among men, but it's not harmful. I had never heard this myth, that it was especially among men. I didn't know that men were supposedly more prone to snoring than women.
Harmful? That's weird.
Yeah. How is it not harmful?
Yeah, I've not.
The myth is that it's just annoying, but it's not actually a medical condition.
But
Right.
at least if you have
If you have a
someone
sleep apnea.
sleeping with you.
Yeah. Sleep
Yeah.
apnea can be a real problem in
Yes.
Certainly.
snoring.
Sleep can be harmful in that you might end up on the couch, or snoring can be harmful.
And I think maybe it's was put on men maybe because of the whole thick neck thing. They tend to have a thicker neck and therefore maybe more likely to snore. Don't know.
Is that a fat joke?
Neck,
What's that
thank you
about?
very much.
I also
That
think
is a
men who are carrying more of their weight in their abdomen are more prone to sleep apnea / snoring problems.
I didn't even stand up. How did you know?
Boy, they.
Was that a fat joke?
Well,
Well, it is true that obesity,
I'm going to let that go. Go ahead.
obesity and a large neck can contribute to sleep apnea.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so myth number 2, you can, quote, cheat on the amount of sleep that you get. This is one I've practiced in the past and have heard many people say. Most adults need between 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night for optimum performance, health, and safety. Lack of adequate sleep can accumulate a sleep deficit that can be difficult to, quote, pay back and can contribute to health problems, mood and behavioral problems, decreased productivity, and less enjoyable sexy time, as I seem to think. So
Yeah, I
the
don't.
better
I don't
rested
think you
I
can
am,
actually.
the better sexy time is.
You can't actually pay back the deficit, can you? I thought it just kind of was.
Yeah, that's something when I
unreliable.
was reading about this, I found it interesting, and it wasn't really what I read. At least what didn't address that fully. I was under the impression that you can't really pay back the sleep deficit. So if I get 5 hours of sleep per night for the working week, and then I'll make it up on the weekend. It's my understanding that you don't actually make that up. You just have suffered the sleep deficit, and you will not actually repay it.
Well, I used to do shift work, so I'm pretty much well aware of the constant tiredness you get from doing not sleeping enough because you have to sleep during the daytime and everything. So I know something about that, and I haven't done shift work for 3 months now, and I still feel tired all the time. So I've never paid it back full.
No,
I spent about
when
2
I-
years working a shift that was 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. 4 nights per week, and I never really acclimated to that schedule, and I never really felt fully rested. It seriously screwed me. I am someone who is very much a normal, nighttime sleep, daytime wake type of person.
When I worked in the nursing home, there were ladies that had been bakers all of their lives, and they wake up some obscene hours, like 3 in the morning. And when I would get there to the nursing home at 8, they'd already been sitting at the nurse's station for 5 hours. And these are ladies that have been retired, presumably, 20, 25 years, and they still never got back to normal. And they were miserable. They weren't ever fully awake and never fully asleep properly.
Myth number 3 is one that I've had experience with recently. Turning up the radio, opening a window, or turning on the air conditioner are effective ways to combat sleepiness while driving. I made an 1,100-mile one-day drive in the last couple of months, and towards the end of that, I started getting a little sleepy. Thankfully, there was this unbelievably dense fog I had to drive in, so I was completely stressed by that, which kept me wide awake. I didn't need a radio or cold air. That was enough. I was panicky almost.
Yeah, I've driven. I used to go to school at a place that was like 8.5-hour drive away from home, and then one night I remember I stayed up the entire night before and drove home, and the only thing that kept me going was caffeine. So I don't really think that music or cold air is enough.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much used to drive from the night shift. I had a 2-hour drive after the night shift, and I went straight home from the last shift. I used to live half the time at the apartment of the factory I was working in. So I drove back home. It was a 2-hour drive, and I used to do it straight after.
The National Sleep Foundation recommends pulling over to a safe rest area and taking a 15 to 45-minute nap if possible. And it also said that caffeinated beverages will give a temporary boost to alertness, but there is generally a 30-minute gap from ingestion to effect from caffeine.
So you pull over and have a cup of coffee, wait for it to take effect while you take your power nap, and you're all good to go.
Or
Sounds
speed.
good to me.
Speed
See,
works too.
I'm waiting for self-driving cars. There will be a day when the car will drive itself, and I can
Definitely.
just say, "Oh, I'm kind of sleepy. Just alert me if something happens."
So what you're saying is you actually want to watch porn while driving.
I didn't say that out loud. I didn't. I'm not saying that's not a thing.
It's a
Good
thing.
window tinting would
Definitely a
allow
thing.
for that, certainly. You know.
Good window tinting,
Now, will you
please.
fight
Window
crime
tinting.
in your self-driving car?
Say again.
Will you fight crime in your self-driving car?
It's an invisible car. Also, do you have a lasso
Well,
of justice?
I'll fight.
Truth?
I'll fight the crime of speeding because I won't be doing that. Other than that, no. I might.
Worst
I might
superhero
wag my
ever.
finger at.
That was a
I'll
Knight
wag my
Rider
finger at
reference if you
criminals
didn't
like,
get it.
"Oh, look at that guy cutting people off and speeding down the road." That's
Michael,
terrible.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Hey, Kit was an awesome car. I built a model of Kit. Kit rocks.
Myth number 4: daytime sleepiness means a person isn't getting enough sleep. While it can result from a lack of good sleep, excessive daytime sleepiness can be a sign of serious underlying medical conditions such as sleep apnea or narcolepsy. I would say something.
Isn't narcolepsy? Isn't narcolepsy the thing where you like to have sex with dead people?
No, but
Oh,
It's
sorry.
necrophilia.
I
nice
get
to know
those
where
mixed
that
up.
thought is going.
I get those mixed up.
Is there something like
awkward?
Necromancy.
Is there like necrolepsy where you just have a tendency to fall over dead once in a while?
Necrolepsy is when you
inopportune
accidentally have
times, you
sex
fall
with
over
corpses in your sleep.
I think necrolepsy would be you fall asleep when you see a corpse. Oh, a dead man.
So number 5: the older you get, the fewer hours of sleep you need. Sleep experts recommend a range of 7 to 9 hours of sleep for the average adult. As we age, we tend to wake more frequently during the night, which is likely a cause for more frequent naps in older adults. I can testify to that. Although I've always been nap happy, I remember my mom will tell stories of when she would try to put my sister and I down for a nap in the middle of the day, and she'd fight with my sister, and then she'd have trouble finding me until she looked in my bed, and there I was already napping. Or I would ask, "Can I go take a nap?"
Well, I can.
She'd
I
tell
can.
me, "You don't have
Such
to
a
ask. You can just take a
do-gooder.
nap."
I
That's
can.
one of the great freedoms of the world.
I can vouch. I can vouch for the fact that as you get older, sleep isn't the only thing you get less of. But they seem
Yeah.
to go
You're
hand in
happening in
hand,
front
so
of
to
strangers.
speak. I think What and well, I was I have to go here, but I'm just saying there's a lot of similarities here. Just like sleep deprivation, sex deprivation. You can't make up for lost sex. You can't get it back. Once it's gone, it's gone. So
I don't know, man.
yeah, you
And
think you can
that's
make?
what you're going to leave us with, Carlton?
Am I leaving?
I thought you
said
said
I
you
gotta
have to go.
Oh no, I
I think
didn't.
he meant
No.
I think he meant he was going on a tear there.
That's kind of what I meant. I said I have to go.
tangent.
I have to go here. Yes. And now, I just as a sidelight, I've got sleep apnea, and I spent a night going to a sleep center when I was in Atlanta. Where the guy assured me that I was going to have the best night's sleep ever. He's assuring me of this as he's attaching 500 electrodes to my skull. And needless to say, I didn't, but I did find it interesting. After they looked at the EEG the next morning, he said that typically when I was during my periods where I'm supposed to be having REM sleep, I was actually waking up, and they define waking up a little bit differently, but I was waking up anywhere from 75 to 80 times per minute, not per hour, not per half hour, per minute.
Isn't that really dangerous for your brain and your heart and things like that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the basic story from the doctor that I got was, obviously sleep apnea. When you're sleep deprived, your blood pressure tends to go up. Stress levels, you never really get to de-stress. Your brain doesn't supposedly get the rest that it requires on a daily basis. So I do tend, and they tried putting me on one of the CPAP machines, the positive pressure breathing machines. And those things were just, they say they've gotten better, but this was years ago, but they were noisy as all get out, so I got even less sleep with that. But yeah, so I take sleeps during the day, naps during the day, but I typically 6 hours, 7 hours during the night. That's about all I can say.
It's got to be pretty hard to sleep. I was married to someone that had the CPAP machine, and it's got to be hard to sleep with that forced air. I tried it just to try it on to see what it was because it was so loud.
Yep.
And it's literally just this mask over your face that's forcing all this air. And I don't know how anyone could sleep with the thing on their face forcing air down their airway.
Yeah, I couldn't. I never used
to
it.
everything except an icicle in your ass because it's going to melt.
Okay, Arno. One-upmanship. That's good.
What?
All right, moving on then.
Moving on.
All right, the next myth, number 6. During sleep, the brain rests. This thing, I guess, if you had asked me, I would have said, yeah, that's the case. But in fact, it's not. Your body rests while you're sleeping, but your brain remains as active and sometimes even more active, depending on the person, that when you're sleeping than it is when you're conscious.
Is it the same part of your brain, John?
That I don't know. I imagine probably not. I don't know that for sure. And myth number 7, and our final myth, unless someone has another. If you wake up in the middle of the night, it's best to lie in bed, count sheep, or toss and turn until you eventually fall back to sleep. Waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to go back to sleep is potentially a symptom of insomnia. Relaxing imagery or thoughts may be more effective than counting. Some researchers suggest that counting is more distracting than relaxing. Most experts agree that if you can't return to sleep after 15 to 20 minutes, you should get out of bed, go to another room, and engage in a relaxing activity until drowsy again. This list, and there are more myths addressed on the National Foundation for Sleep, or National Sleep Foundation's website, which there'll be a link to in the show notes. I have tried before a problem where I'm trying to go to sleep and I feel like my brain won't shut off, just like hyperactive brain. And one thing I started doing was counting backwards by threes from 300, and it's just kind of something like you will focus on doing that rather than the other thoughts, and it is certainly a distraction, but I don't know if it's any more relaxing. I can't say for sure if that worked any better or not, but it was something I have tried on suggestion.
I find that just listening to some soft, quiet, relaxing music, nothing like heavy tempo, very slow tempo, is going to help me get to sleep because I have problems sleeping all the time. And I try not to use medication for it. So
one of the interesting things when I was going through the sleep apnea, and my wife confirmed it because I didn't believe it. I always thought that I had a difficult time falling asleep. Right? And my impression of the night as I'm going through it or the next morning is that, I tossed and turned and I could never get to sleep and it took me forever. And most of the doctors said, like when I went for the study, they said, you fell asleep like under 5 minutes, which normally we take 15, 20 minutes to fall asleep. And I didn't believe them. And my wife says, yeah, she says, you hit the bed, your pillow, you're snoring within 2 minutes, you're gone. But the impression is that it takes forever for me to fall asleep. So I'm not sure where that comes from or how that comes about, but it's an interesting phenomenon.
As I understand it, in the pre-sleep state, where you're not fully conscious and you're not in deep sleep yet, that pre-sleep state, your cognitive abilities are affected, and things like your perception of time is off. So that like you said, you're there maybe 5 minutes trying to go to sleep, and it feels like an eternity. I've noticed that myself, where I've woken up in the middle of the night, or I've laid there trying to go to bed or trying to go to sleep, and I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and it feels like I've been awake for just a very long time. And I think about it later, and I've reasoned that that doesn't really stand to reason. Like if I had been laying there for that long, I think there would have been other indicators I'd have been awake for 2 hours.
Yeah, I've had some.
That was something I went through. That was something I went through years ago, and I did a little research too. Is there something to that? And as I found through reading, it was that your perception of time is certainly affected in that pre-sleep state.
Yeah, I've had that kind of experience myself, where if I'm really low on sleep, if I've been sleep deprived a little bit, I can fall asleep and go through an entire brief dream sequence in less than a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at the clock and I wake myself up and I can't believe that it's just been such a short period of time. It seems like it's been much longer. Because I've had entire scenes play out in my head, and it just seemed like it must have taken longer than that.
Yeah, I read somewhere, some semi-credible source, that after great sleep deprivation for like 36 hours or something without sleeping, you actually start to fall asleep when you're basically idling, like going to the toilet or something. You just take micro naps, like just a few seconds of sleep now and then.
I had an experience in college where I was hooked on energy drinks for a while, and at one point I was up for 73 hours straight, and
Oh my God.
yeah, it was pretty bad. I was awake and doing things and hallucinating constantly. I felt like I was high or drunk or something. I was only half conscious of what I was doing. It's a very strange situation.
That was I'm glad you said that, Michael. I was just reading this past week, and maybe John's going to hit it here in one of his
Read the show notes there.
A little sleep deprived. Yeah, where are they again? In terms of how long can a person go to sleep or stay awake? Excuse me. And they said it doesn't actually kill you. There's no fixed limit on how long you can stay awake. It's just that, like you said, you'll start hallucinating, and there'll be other effects from it. But the sleep deprivation itself won't kill you. And I think there was the record one was something extraordinary. It was something like 12 or 15 days without sleep.
Huh. Yeah, the hallucinations were pretty powerful too. I remember having entire conversations with people who weren't even in the same state as me at the time. So,
Are you sure that wasn't the energy drinks talking?
A few years ago, I remember. A few years ago, I went on a trip, taking a plane, and I guess it was like for 2 days I stayed up, and like I stayed up all night preparing and everything, and then went to the airport really early and waited around a long time for everything, and tried to keep myself awake the whole time. And even when I finally got on the plane, I even watched a movie, but. By the end of it, I know I was seeing like lines suddenly like bursting in front of my vision, and I thought that was kind of strange. Just lines, crisscrossing around once in a while.
I myself have never been up long enough. I've never stayed awake long enough to have hallucinations like that. I'm aware that after about 22 to 24 hours of being awake, I'm pretty useless.
Yeah.
So there are some nights at my job.
Give or take 24 hours.
We'll do production rollout, right? We'll do production rollouts, software rollouts, and there's sometimes where I've been up 24 hours or damn near 24 hours, been at work for 18 plus hours, and
Jesus.
I will find myself trying to solve a problem, and that doesn't work. So let me try this. That didn't work. Let me try this, and I realized that's the same thing I just did 3 times before.
And that's about the time that the invisible gecko in your brain starts telling you to use the Force.
Right.
But now does everybody else, though, when you stay up 24 hours, does everybody else get a second wind at some point? Where all of a sudden it feels like you've had a full night's sleep, at least for a while.
In the morning, my circadian
do.
rhythm will kick in the morning, and it'll be like, when I used to work overnight, people would say,
About
you're
4
going
or
home at
5
8 a.m.,
hours.
are you going to sleep? No, I'm not going to sleep. It's 8 a.m., I feel great. Around 2 p.m., then I'll start to crash, but the circadian rhythm will take over in the morning for sure.
I have a really bad being awake experience. When I traveled to the U.S. In 2009, I was up for like 20-something hours because of the time difference and everything, and I got stuck in the U.S. side of customs, and that was like, oh my god, because your customs people are horrible. They don't get that you've been up for 26 hours.
You're kind of dirty and foreign looking, man.
Yeah, you're like
I of course was so tired that I couldn't. I had my papers ready, like everything. I had like a shit ton of papers because your country requires a shit ton of papers for a foreigner to be there for a year. So I had all my papers ready. I had put them somewhere where I could find them, and when I was there, I was so tired I couldn't even remember where the papers were. And I was searching them for like a shit ton of time, and they called the university which I was attending, and they pretty much made a deal with the customs people, and I got in, and oh god, I was so tired. Then when I found the papers, of course, they were here. I put them here so I could find them easily. But yeah, I never showed my papers.
Who is that behind you?
That's my friend, Tommy.
Hey.
For a while, I wasn't sure if he was a person or a cutout.
Yeah, me too.
Is that a sleep hallucination, maybe?
Yeah, he's here for a sleepover.
So we'll talk a little bit.
That's
we'll talk
not
a little
his
bit now
sex
about.
doll. That's a
Did
real
you braid each
person.
other's hair?
We'll talk a little bit about sleep
Of course
hygiene
we do.
now. So sleep hygiene's a variety of practices and habits that can help anyone maximize the hours they spend sleeping. Even those whose sleep is affected by insomnia, jet lag, or shift work can benefit from good sleep hygiene. Here's a quick list of 12 tips for better sleep hygiene. 1. Avoid caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, and other chemicals that interfere with sleep. 2.
Never.
Turn your bedroom into
Never.
a sleep-inducing environment. 3. Establish a soothing pre-sleep routine. 4. Go to sleep when you're truly tired. 5. Don't be a nighttime clock watcher. 6. Use light to your advantage. 7. Keep your internal clock set with a consistent sleep schedule. 8. Nap early or not at all. Haha. 9. Lighten up on evening meals. 10. Balance fluid intake. 11. Exercise early. And 12. Follow through.
Well, okay, so right off the bat, how do you coordinate keeping a consistent sleep schedule with don't be a nighttime clock watcher and go to bed when you're tired?
I think the idea there is that, like, so if I'm trying to go to sleep and I'm having trouble sleeping, don't sit there and keep looking at the clock like, oh, why? It's 11 o'clock. Damn, it's 11:15. Oh, it's 11:45. I think.
Or is that
the
thing
idea
where you're like,
there
I'm
is
only going to get
that
5 hours
increases
sleep.
your-
You start doing the math.
Right, yeah, and you exactly, yeah, that nighttime math. Like, if I finally get to sleep at
Oh.
midnight, I have to be up
Yeah.
at 6. Okay, I can get 6 hours of sleep, but if it takes me longer, again, doing that, I've done all those things before. Certainly, these are all. Well, I think these are good tips. They're not all applicable to everyone.
I assume
Personally,
alcohol.
I have a little personal story about sleep hygiene. For off and on through my adult life, I've had different periods of better or worse sleep, and in the last few months, I found my sleep was suffering quite a bit. I'd sleep maybe 5 to 6 hours per night, and my productivity at work was down. I was a little more irritable at times, and just in general, I didn't feel like I was getting good rest. So I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set myself on a schedule where I just decided at 7 o'clock, I'm not going to drink any caffeine after 7, and by 10 o'clock, I'm going to turn off video games or TV or movie, whatever it is, like any kind of video stimulus. I'll turn those off. I might lay down to read or listen to something relaxing after 10, and by 11 o'clock, lights out, go to sleep. And I've stuck pretty close to that. Also, I've been drinking a tea that has valerian root in it, non-caffeinated tea with valerian root, and my sleep has been for about a month or so now has just been fantastic. And now I find myself at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm already getting tired. Going to sleep by 11 or 11:30 is simple. There's no frustration. There's no effort.
How's the scientific backing to that valerian root, John?
Well, I've done a little research, and it seems to hold up actually.
9 out of 10 testimonials agree.
Brandy has done a lot more research on that than I have. So.
I'm surprised that it mentioned alcohol. I would have assumed a little alcohol before bed would help you get to sleep.
It helps you get
I
there, but it messes with your cycles, I think, is what they say. And I found that to be the case, definitely. It'll get me to sleep, but I wake up, of course, you got to use the bathroom if you drink, and then it does mess with the cycles.
I'm Batman.
This is to address what Michael said about valerian root. I'm not saying that does or doesn't help. It seems like maybe it has, but that could easily be placebo effect. I could take you take any given thing. So this might help you sleep, and suddenly I sleep well and say, oh yeah, that must have been that thing. I don't know for sure that the valerian root has anything to do with it.
And it's called sleepy time tea. There's other things in it. I don't even know what's in it.
Right. Well, and the thing is, like, there's all these other practices that I put in place. I stopped drinking caffeine, which there's no doubt at all that caffeinated beverages increase your alertness and inhibit your ability to sleep. So I don't drink caffeine after 7 p.m. I minimize external stimulus by 10 o'clock, and then by 11 I'm laying down actually trying to go to sleep. It could be that just that alone is what's making me sleep better, and the valerian root has no effect one way or the other, or the tea doesn't even have any effect. It's a nice ritual to go through. I will actually see if I can find links for research done on valerian root and see if there's any validity to that other than it seems to work for me.
Has anyone done any research on melatonin? I know there's been a ton of research on us talking about within the group here.
As
I
I
have it,
understand it
yeah.
about melatonin, taking supplements from melatonin is something that has a cumulative effect over time, and
Yeah, it's definitely not instant.
it's not instant, and it helps somewhat. It's not a fix for, I guess what you'd call like sleep disorders, but it can help somewhat.
I know that my mom has a thyroid disorder, and one of the things I guess for some reason that affects her sleep cycles, and one of the things they suggested for her was to take melatonin, and that does help her get to sleep because she was having trouble sleeping.
You know what else helps? A nice big turkey sandwich.
No.
No,
help.
no, tryptophan does not make you tired.
Well, that's funny because every
Eating
time
like
I
a
eat a
pig at
turkey
Thanksgiving.
sandwich, I want to go to sleep.
Every time I eat a turkey sandwich, I also go to the bathroom, but that doesn't mean it's a laxative.
Well, it actually does, doesn't it? That's exactly what it means, Michael.
You know what? That works for me. Call it science.
There you go.
Fact.
All right.
Okay, so for what I think is a more fun segment about parasomnias, there are two types of parasomnias: non-rapid eye movement parasomnias and rapid eye movement or REM sleep parasomnias. So some non-rapid eye movement parasomnias. There's quite a few of them here. Instead of going through detail about all of them, we'll just touch on a couple. There's confusional arousals, which is a condition
Most arousals are confusing if you're honest about it.
So you
I've never been confused by my.
I don't know why.
I've never been
Really
confused by my
horny.
arousals during sleep. I'm fine with it. They seem rather straightforward to me.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Yeah,
Phrasing.
yeah, they
Different kind of arousal.
I'm not.
Right,
I didn't
gotcha.
think I was confused by the arousal, but again, my wife tells me I'm confused. Go back to sleep. So
It's okay if looking at boys makes your no-no face feel
I
strange,
just
Carl.
take that at face value. Okay.
So confusional arousals, a condition where an individual awakens from sleep and remains in a confused state. It's characterized by the individual's partial awakening and sitting up to look around. They usually remain in bed and then return to sleep. The episodes last anywhere from seconds to minutes and may not be reactive to stimuli. I don't know if that's similar to what I've experienced before, where when I first wake up, I'm extremely confused about, am I supposed to be awake now?
Sean, you're
Did
just
I go to bed?
confused.
Did
It's
I lay
just your
down on
normal
my
state.
sofa, or did I lay down in bed to go to sleep? Like, I don't know if that's the same. I have moments like that. There are days when I wake up extremely confused.
Yeah, when I did shift
made
work,
that
I
intro
used to
today.
get that because I fell asleep at any time, like just randomly, and then I would wake up really confused, and I was like panicking if I was late for work.
Yeah.
Another parasomnia that I have personal experience with is exploding
Me
head
too.
syndrome. Yeah?
Exploding
Yeah.
head syndrome.
Exploding head syndrome is a form of hypnagogic.
Hypnagogic.
Let me try that again. Exploding head syndrome is a form of hypnagogic auditory hallucination that is rare and relatively undocumented. The individual experiences a loud crash or bang in their head similar to a bomb exploding, a gun going off, a crash of cymbals, or any other form of loud and indecipherable noise that seems to originate from inside the head.
Yeah, I've definitely had that happen.
I've had that.
Yeah,
For me,
so
it was somebody shouting really loud, and it just woke me up.
Mine tends to be one of two
never
things.
had
It's
anything.
either an explosively loud crashing noise, or if you can imagine like a stadium full of people whispering, and that whisper
Yes.
all of a sudden going from a whisper to everyone shouting at the top of their lungs. And it wakes me up, and I look around like, what is that? And it first happened to me, as I recall, in my early 20s, and the first couple times it happened to me, I thought, is there a noise waking me up? And then not long after that, I realized, oh, this is something that's just happening. There's obviously nothing going on. It's just something that happens. I thought it was pretty common. As it turns out, it's pretty rare. I've talked to a lot of people about it. They're like, that's the most bizarre thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I've definitely had that happen to me a couple of times. I remember once when I was a little kid, I woke up in the middle of the night because I heard a sound which sounded like somebody whispering, but as if you had recorded that and cranked the volume up several hundred times.
Mm-hmm.
And that sound woke me up. And another time, it sounded like the sound of a balloon popping, just really loud, woke me up also.
And Mike, did you know it was a thing, like an exploding head syndrome? Have you heard of that?
Oh, no, I hadn't heard of it at all
So
before.
that's got to be validating. I always like it when I find out there's a name for a phenomenon or
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that is a thing. I'm not crazy.
I'm not
It
just
was
completely
actually-
broken in the head, yeah.
It was a podcast. It was either Stuff You Should Know or Caustic Soda, where I first heard someone talk about that. And I was like, oh my God, that's a thing. That was in the last couple years that I learned that. I just always figured it was something that I was like, oh, maybe everyone has this, or most people have it, or something.
I think some people, or a lot of people, have it on a rare occasion, because I know I don't normally have that kind of a sleep disorder, but there are times when I'll wake up and thinking that wow, that was something really loud, and it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times I can sleep right through the most incredible thunderstorm. So I think that everybody experiences it at some point or another, but it's just a matter of a problem when it becomes a routine or frequent occurrence.
So it's like an explosion or a shout. It's never something that you could actually, like someone saying something or anything like that. I've never had that, so I'm just interested.
Well, I was there when John had one of these episodes, so I know. There was no loud sound, there was no nothing. His apartment was quiet, and he woke up with that.
So it's a complete illusion. There's nothing
totally
real activating.
It wasn't based on a slamming door or a backfiring car, nothing. His apartment is nice and quiet.
It's absolutely a hallucination, yeah.
So,
what I'm wondering, has any of you ever experienced that sleep hag thing, where you feel like somebody is sitting on your chest and you wake up?
We'll get to that. That one's coming up, actually.
So sleep paralysis.
It's sleep paralysis.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That thing, I only ever got in childhood, but I never experienced it as like someone sitting on my chest. That I always thought was so strange. Like, what must that be like?
Yeah, it's like when I have that, it's not somebody sitting on my chest. It's usually it's a sensation that I'm suffocating, and all I need to do is move my head, move my hand, move something, and I feel like, and my entire body is paralyzed. I can't move it, but I'm awake, and it's like waiting to die. It's the weirdest sensation. And then all of a sudden I'll wake up, usually with like a violent jerking motion, or like all of a sudden something connects with the muscles, and then I damn near throw myself out of bed. That's all.
I've often woken with a violent jerking motion myself.
I knew
just unmuted
I
to
was
clear my
waiting
throat
to see
on
who
the
was
mic.
going there, Michael. Way to go.
So next is teeth grinding, also known as bruxism, a common sleep disorder where an individual grinds their teeth during sleep. This can cause sleep disruption for the individual or the individual's partner. It also causes long-term tooth damage. It can cause jaw problems, frequent headaches, a number of other things. Commonly, people will use a mouth guard similar to like a football player's, or I guess hockey player, whatever, a sports mouth guard to keep from actually grinding your teeth. My ex-wife had that problem. I have a jaw clenching problem, but it's not sleep related. In fact, it is programming related. It's my job when I'm really stressed at work and I realize, I've been clenching my jaw for an hour now and my head hurts from it. So.
Can you like bite your tongue or something with that? Because I've never heard of that.
I'm not aware. I've never heard of that happening, but I suppose it's possible.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So it's not actually only dangerous to your teeth and probably to
in your head
Yeah.
and your jaw, and
Jaw,
you can
yeah.
actually hear someone. Again, my ex with the apnea, you could actually hear the grinding, the rubbing. It is so awful
Ugh.
to
Yeah,
witness. It woke me up. Like, it's so unpleasant. It's exactly what it would sound like, grinding your teeth. Forcing your jaw
Sometimes
shut.
it doesn't sound like teeth grinding. I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, "What the hell is that noise?" I woke up, I'm looking around my room, and then I realized like it's coming from my wife. Like, what is that noise she's making? And yeah, it took a little time. Like, I'm just like, I don't understand what is
She's
going
not
on
snoring,
here. Like,
she's not farting. What is
Yeah.
that noise she's making?
Yeah, I used to grind my teeth when I was a kid, and I had a mouth guard. But before I got the mouth guard, the doctor tried to convince me that what I should do is have jaw surgery to realign my teeth, and somehow that would fix it. I don't know how. It almost, now that I say it, it almost sounds like dental chiropractic or something. I don't know.
yeah, jaw subluxations.
Subluxation. Oh,
I don't know.
jeez. You said the word subluxation. Oh, my God. Talk about exploding head syndrome. Please keep talking about subluxation.
Okay, so moving on. So sleep terrors is considered the most disruptive arousal disorder since it may involve loud screams and panic. That's basically exactly what it sounds like. Someone who, in their sleep, wakes up, or sometimes not even waking up, just that like a panicky, screaming, thrashing. I've never experienced that. I've heard about it, and it sounds terrible.
Worst first date ever.
No,
Yeah.
Awkward.
I think one of my sister's ex-boyfriends had sleep terrors, and he kept waking up like, well, terrified.
Was that because you guys have your own family gnome or troll or fairy or whatever you're telling me about?
Elf.
That
Yeah.
elf.
You have a Dobby.
It's the sleep time elf that
I'm
bothers
afraid
me.
of the Funland Sleepy Time Family Elf, whatever. Oh
You
my
just have to
god.
give the elf a sock and he'll go away.
One
No.
sock though. One sock. That way
No,
it never
no,
finds
no.
its mate.
That
Those
explains a
those
lot.
gnomes are
Phrasing,
Russian, so
phrasing.
they require a bottle of vodka, and that's the only thing that will make them go.
Good old
Booze?
Finnish
You can pay off your
potato
elves
vodka.
in booze.
Of course, you can
That's
pay your
awesome.
elves
Everything
off
in
with
Funland
booze.
you can pay off with booze. That's awesome.
Yep,
Pretty much everything you can pay off in booze.
except the police. They are incorruptible, so they don't take booze.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And
It's
on
bad
that
to
note,
take Joe Boo's rum.
that's right. It is. You'll never hit that curveball.
Oh,
Sleepwalking,
they only
also
accept,
known as
donuts and
somnambulism.
coffee.
Sleepwalking, also known as somnambulism, has a prevalence of 1 to 17% in childhood, with the most frequent occurrences around the ages of 11 and 12. About 4% of adults experience somnambulism. Some things that contribute to that, or can contribute to that: anxiety, fatigue, alcohol, sedatives, medications, medical and mental disorders. Those are all commonly associated with sleepwalking. So basically everything is associated with sleepwalking. Yeah,
Yeah, somebody wrote in the notes
Day-to-day
here,
life.
hello, Ambien.
yeah, that was me. I've had experience with people who take Ambien.
Oh, God, yeah. I remember hearing
Yeah.
people talk about how people made sandwiches and drove around when they were on Ambien.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Gambling?
my son never took Ambien, and he still manages to do stuff like that. It's sort of scary. You know, he'll get up and he'll make himself something to eat in the middle of the night, and you can sit there and watch him and even hold a conversation with him in sort of broken words. He'll go right back to sleep, has no recollection of it the next morning. He just,
You know, that's really dangerous for diabetics that have done that. Get up in the middle of the night
yes.
like that and don't remember it because I'm diabetic and I've had like minor episodes of that where I am terrified and I'm with it enough that I eat a terrible thing and a lot of it, and then there's evidence that I took a shot and I'm thinking I have no idea how much insulin I drew up. I have no idea when I took it. Like, it's very dangerous. It's
Time to
awful.
start
yeah,
chaining
my
yourself to the
husband
bed.
used to do that.
Yeah, those are related to the sleep-related eating disorder, which is, as you said, a condition in which individuals eat during sleep. And what's interesting, like people will generally, they'll go to the kitchen, make something to eat, they'll indulge in uncooked foods sometimes, or snack foods, or even toxic substances. I remember a story I heard, the first time I heard about this was a story about a guy who would go to his kitchen in the middle of the night and eat whole sticks of butter. He'd just stand there at the refrigerator eating whole sticks of butter at a time.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I remember a story about a guy who
Yum.
broke glass and put it in a sandwich, and he had to go to the hospital.
Okay.
Sounds like it's straight out of a
Pretty
mob
weird.
movie right there.
Yeah.
And our last non-REM parasomnia is sleep sex,
Oh,
known as
yeah.
sexsomnia. It's a condition
not
in which a
business
person
time.
will engage in sexual
I'd
acts
rather wake
while
up,
asleep.
thanks.
Oh no, I thought it was the other way around.
It's not as fun and sexy as it sounds. It's terrible. People have assaulted their children and stuff. It's awful.
Yeah,
God.
it can be as harmless as like masturbation, to groping someone, to sex with your partner, to raping someone, or raping
Well,
children.
Jesus.
Which side though
Yeah.
is there? I mean, because there's lots of times I've had sex with a woman and she's fallen asleep during the sex.
The other way around.
It
I
doesn't
Oh, okay,
count if
all
she
right.
gets
I
bored
wanted
and
to-
falls asleep.
I wanna
It
make
does
sure.
not count.
So you have to fall asleep first.
I
And
think
then
that's sexual performance disorder.
Ah, okay. Yeah, she wasn't very good.
if your wife falls asleep for more than 4 hours.
I mean,
during sex,
I didn't let that stop me. I kept going. I was going to the end.
I always thought those commercials were silly. I'm thinking, you know what? If he has a hard on for more than 4 hours, it's going to be not him that needs medical
Yeah.
attention. Actually,
I just
Like,
figured if she fell asleep during sex, it must be she's sleep deprived, and that's okay. Doesn't necessarily have to
Oh, yeah.
stop
She was
the
just
other
so
side.
pleased
So you're helping her,
and
right,
happy.
Carlton?
Well, it was a very soothing experience for her. Exactly. It would put her right to sleep.
It
So
was
I'm
like a
thinking
happy
this-
little massage.
I'm thinking this disorder is going to be kind of bizarre for someone that has like a balloon and cake fetish.
Kind of like hypnosis
Oh,
from the
God.
inside. You know?
Yeah, I
Are you
went
trying
there.
to tell us something about yourself, John?
I've just been on the
Phrasing,
internet far too
phrasing.
long. I have seen things. I have seen things.
Paperhouse.com.
no, he's just way too familiar with the interwebs. That's all. Bringing to our next segment. What?
Yeah, our next segment. So our next segment is rapid eye movement parasomnias. This is a lot shorter. REM sleep behavior disorder is the most common REM sleep parasomnia in which atonia, or lack of muscle strength, is absent. This allows the individual to act out their dreams and may result in repeated injury. bruises, lacerations, and fractures to themselves or others. There's a whole lot more to say about those.
There's
one of the things we'll talk about here in a bit. I don't want to spoil it yet. One of the things we'll talk about in a bit relates to this. There's also recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, which
before
was mentioned.
we jump to that one, there's actually a video that's very funny on the internet of a dog that is running in its sleep, and its legs are kicking and just flailing around, and it doesn't wake up, but like it manages to get itself up straight and then runs headfirst into a wall.
Oh.
And wakes up, and it's very confused. But it's
along the lines of this one, and also with sleepwalking, if you've ever heard Mike Birbiglia's his routine on sleepwalking or seen his movie Sleepwalk With Me.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent recounting of the hilarious terror of
Doesn't
sleepwalking.
he go out a window in a hotel or something?
Yeah,
he does something serious.
He's under attack or something like that.
Yeah.
he jumped through a window
a hotel window, yeah. Very serious.
He was all cut up and like went through a tree on his way down. So, the next one is recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, which we kind of talked about earlier, which is during sleep or at the onset of waking up, your body's paralyzed, you can't move, and often that the Hag syndrome, as Brandy pointed out, is associated with that, where it feels like someone or something is sitting on your chest. And that, combined with hallucinations, has been offered as an explanation for alien abduction stories and a number of other things.
Aliens and demons and succubus and incubus and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
As I said in the aliens episode, I'm going to do a redo now. The word painajainen in Finnish means nightmare, and it literally means something pressing on you, like a pressure on you.
I mean, even the term nightmare itself, I think, is this idea that there's a... Now that I'm saying this, it doesn't make any sense, but I thought it was the idea that it's a horse that rides you while you're asleep, but that doesn't make sense. So,
again, worst first date ever.
Rule 34, right there.
Oh, it exists, I'm sure.
I've experienced sleep paralysis before, but it hasn't felt that much like somebody was on top of me or anything.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've had that once, and I had like trouble breathing. It felt just like someone is strangling you on your chest, like just pushing a heavy weight on your chest.
Now, Michael, if that succubus was like the girl on Lost Girl, that would be okay. I could live with that. She was a fine succubus.
She's pretty good. No, but I just looked it up on the online etymology dictionary. Nightmare originated about the late 13th century as an evil female spirit afflicting sleepers with a feeling of suffocation.
Mm-hmm.
And I
so
guess
it's basically the hag.
Yeah, in the mid-16th century, the meaning shifted from this demon to the sensation, the suffocating sensation that it causes, and the sense of any kind of bad dream first came around in about the late 1820s.
Huh.
So moving on to our last parasomnia is one this is the first time I'd read about it, and researching for this is cataphrenia. It's a rapid eye movement sleep parasomnia consisting of breath holding and expiratory groaning during sleep. It's distinct from both somniloquy and obstructive sleep apnea. You can look up what those mean in the links I'll post to the show notes. Sound is produced during exhalation as opposed to snoring, which occurs during inhalation. Bed partners generally report hearing the person take a deep breath, hold it, then slowly exhale, often with a high-pitched squeak or groaning sound.
So this is the Three Stooges, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is it.
That's a comic interpretation of this.
Exactly, yeah.
This was the first time I'd heard of this. I was aware of this phenomenon, but never heard of the name of it before.
So it's not like wailing or shouting anything. It's just like some weird high-pitched voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think we put dumbass to sleep, folks.
What?
Yeah.
Good night, dumbass.
He said his name and he woke up.
Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, little dumbass.
Did I look like I was sleeping or something?
Yeah.
No, I was
just a little.
I was just messing.
I got my pillow right here. I'm ready to go.
So a couple of sleep disorders. First, one that's extremely common is insomnia. From sleepfoundation.org, insomnia, which is Latin for no sleep, is the inability to fall asleep or remain asleep. Insomnia is also used to describe the condition of waking up not feeling restored or refreshed.
Wait a minute, read that again, John? The first part?
Yeah, from sleepfoundation.org, insomnia, which is Latin for no sleep, is the inability to fall asleep or remain asleep. Insomnia is also used to describe the condition of waking up not feeling restored or refreshed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And symptoms can include difficulty falling asleep, waking up frequently during the night, difficulty returning to sleep, waking up too early in the morning, unrefreshing sleep, daytime sleepiness, difficulty concentrating, or irritability. Some common medications that can lead to insomnia include cold and allergy medication, high blood pressure medication, heart disease medication, thyroid disease medication, birth control, asthma medications, pain medications, and antidepressants, especially SSRI antidepressants.
Everyone knows birth control's of the devil. Everyone knows that.
Well, I'm sure we all know that.
Devil!
We atheists are, of course, opposed to birth control because how are we going to have the babies for the baby roast without...
Well, you're vegetarian. You don't have to worry about that, but for the rest of us...
Right, well, that's
Friday,
tofu babies.
So I get my tofurkey baby for the baby roast.
I
rest of you, I don't know what you do.
An eminent Christian scientist somewhere that if you use birth control, it leaves behind a graveyard of tiny little aborted babies in your uterus. Is that right?
Oh
no, that's how nature works.
So as a guy, doesn't jacking off do the same thing? Like
yes.
The whole egg.
Look at
genocide on the bed.
You're a mass murderer. Like
that's how nature works. It is. It's how nature works. Nature, it's badly designed.
Oh my.
One of these days, I expect one of these days in the future, someone's gonna make a reference to. You make a lot of jokes about roasting and eating children. Like, what's that about?
Yes,
The
there's a cultural meme that atheists
Grandpa
eat
John,
babies.
what is that all about?
I always tell him we talk about the grandkids we're not going to have. Like, this would make a good story for the grandkids we're not going to have. So.
Okay, our last sleep disorder, which we touched on some already, is narcolepsy. And from
Again,
the National Institute of Health's National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, for the love of God, that's a title. Quote, narcolepsy is a chronic brain disorder that involves poor control of sleep-wake cycles. People with narcolepsy experience periods of extreme daytime sleepiness and sudden, irresistible bouts of sleep that can strike at any time.
And desires to
sleep attacks usually last a few seconds to several minutes. Narcolepsy Say what?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right. Narcolepsy tends to affect males and females equally. It's a lifelong condition. It's not rare, but it's often unrecognized and undiagnosed. Symptoms include excessive daytime sleepiness, cataplexy, sleep paralysis, hallucinations, disrupted nocturnal sleep, and obesity. Narcolepsy is still currently incurable, but some of the symptoms can be treated with medication and lifestyle changes.
Yeah, you know how they treat that? With speed. That's how they treat that.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
I want to be narcoleptic now.
Adderall and the like. That is how they treat that. Speed.
Yeah. We actually used to have a guy who was narcoleptic in our role-playing group a few years ago, and he would fall asleep like literally in like middle of the game. There was something exciting happening, and he would be going.
I'm not sure about that, Arno. Can you have anything exciting in a role-playing
I was just going to say, exciting according to whom?
It's subjective.
Presumably, though, it was his hobby, so he found it probably
Okay,
exciting.
all right.
Okay,
So
presumably.
he wakes up and you're like, oh, you didn't realize we all looted your character while you were out. Sorry. Here's a dagger. Good luck.
He would like sleep for like 15 minutes and be right back in the game, but he just missed some parts.
I think some of the people who suffer from, quote, narcolepsy, it's actually sleep apnea that goes untreated. They don't get good enough sleep, and like my dad had COPD at the end of his life, and because he wasn't getting enough air exchange, he was easily put to sleep during the day. You know, it was just a matter of he would just nod off. You know, it had nothing else to do with any of his medication. He drank coffee like by the gallon.
Water.
Yeah.
One of the attributes of narcolepsy is an absence or reduction of hypocretin or hypocretin in the brain, which I imagine. So you can have attributes that are similar to sleep apnea and narcolepsy, or one has a different cause than the other.
Now,
I agree with you, though. The people I've known that have apnea, they nod off in traffic. I mean, you give them 30 seconds of non-action, and it's like being with a heroin addict. I mean, they would just nod off.
Yeah.
We didn't straight up talk about sleep apnea, did we?
No, there's videos on YouTube, by the way, several dozen videos of narcoleptic dogs, which is kind of adorable and kind of sad at the same time. The dogs get really, really excited, like when they're about to be petted or fed, and then they just flop over asleep. So.
That's like those sheep. Have you seen those little pygmy goats that flop over?
The fainting goats, yeah.
Oh my God, they're so
They evolved
cute.
that response where their muscles stiffen up, and so
and they just keel over. It's so cute.
It's stress response or something, where they are scared and they just
and they just like, oh, they're so cute though, because they're little pygmy, little tiny like cocker spaniel sized goats. So cute. I can watch those clips over and over and over.
All right, so we're going to move on to our new segment, the What segment.
The what segment?
What?
For those that listen to Cognitive Dissonance, what, Tom?
This segment's a throwback to Cognitive Dissonance. Tom and Cecil. Tom is somewhat known for his what. And we decided to do a segment with stories that make us say, what?
Wait, what?
Well, okay. So, I got a what?
Okay, hit us with one.
It's sort of make you go what? It's a sign on a Catholic church out front of the Catholic church. You know they have the little marquees out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I share screen so you can see it? Is that would that work?
Go.
Okay, here it is. Let me see if I can do this. Here it is. This part right there. Start screen share.
It's touching your self-worth and eternity in hell. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I gotta bring up the document.
I'm almost 39, so how many eternities in hell? That's an order of magnitude.
Can I see that again?
I bet in hell they let you touch yourself as much as you want.
What's up, Michael?
Is it a cumulative effect? That's what I'm curious.
I missed that. Could you put that up again?
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to put that up again.
It's a picture we'll definitely link in the show notes.
Okay.
I just want to make sure it's not one of those church sign generator things.
I don't think it is, but it might be. But I don't know where it went now. Hold on. I think I closed it down or something. Give me a second.
It's what's called a joystick for nothing.
I got you right.
God.
Okay. Where'd it go? Give me a second.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
Here it is. Got it. Shut up.
What?
Thank God for editing.
That's right. We do get to edit these. Okay.
We do.
There you go, Michael.
Yes. Answer is yes, of course.
Ah, well. Darn. I thought that was a nice one. Okay.
So.
What's our next what?
Well, okay. I have another what. I can do a lot of whats. I got a lot of whats this week.
Well, we have a list in the show notes already.
Oh, we do? Then let's do those. Okay.
Since we can edit this out, just so the regular contributors are aware, we do have show
here.
You all have access. Everyone has shared access to the folder with every week's show notes, the topic lists, all those things. So, and I reshared since this episode has started. I have reshared access again.
Don't go professional on us.
Yeah,
I know. I was gonna say we do want to do some impromptu. I don't need to do all of mine. I just posted some.
Well, you only did 4 of them, so that's not too many. So yeah. Anyway, go ahead and do yours now.
I will just give a small nod to because it's depressing and the rest of them are too. But this it goes with our theme a little bit. Homicidal sleepwalking. There's actually been cases documented from the 1600s where people have killed other people in their sleep, been completely unaware of it, woken up sometime after it, even woken up at the police station where they turned themselves in.
I'm just going to say that I just want to say that contrary to the idea that sleep terrors are the most disruptive sleep disorder, I think homicidal sleepwalking is a little more disruptive. Just a tad.
I agree because actual people die. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? Sleep terrors can result in death too, because my husband just about attacked me once when he was having a sleep.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah, it was a little disturbing.
So you have
That's why you keep a gun under your pillow so you can shoot someone if you have a stress response during sleep, right?
How do you go to sleep the next night?
We call that aggressive sleep hygiene.
Yeah, leave me alone. I want to sleep.
I got my bulletproof vest, my knife, and my gun. I'm going to bed.
Well then. I just don't know how you go to sleep the next night. Like the first night, fine, it happens in the middle of the night, but the next night it's like, I'm going to be in the guest room, actually. I don't want to be on the couch.
That's kind of what happened, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be upstairs in the gun turret if you need me.
I'll be in my panic room. That's where I sleep now. Me and the cats are going to be in the panic room.
Shall we go to the next what?
Yes, what? Yeah, just the fact that that's like something that people have done and not gone to jail for, and I agree with. It's an actual parasomnia, so I agree. They should not have gone to jail, but it's just kind of horrifying. Okay, let's see. This I found yesterday, and some of these, if you read my G+ posts, are from that, because that's why I post things. What? Jenny McCarthy's son never had autism? What? I don't know if any of you got a chance to read that or hear anything about that, but basically it sounds like Jenny McCarthy's come forward with thinking that maybe the son never did have autism, had some other kind of neurological disorder. And
so wait, what? So she claimed that her son got autism from the vaccines, and now she's claiming that there was no autism.
Yeah, it was no autism.
A quick summary of that. Jenny McCarthy's been a spokesperson for some time and advocating the idea that the MMR, which is measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, has been a key cause for autism in children. And just recently, there's a Time interview with her where she apparently has said that her son never had autism, and that vaccines are not harmful, that vaccines are safe, but they need more scrutiny. I have not personally read the Time article yet, although I intend to. My take on this is that I think this is probably something that she's been aware of for some time now, and has been trying to find a way to backpedal out of that stance, because it was for a while now, people have known that's an indefensible stance.
Well, I know at one point, I can't remember if it was before or after she claimed that her son had autism. She claimed that he was this thing she called an indigo child, which is this advanced spiritual being
the
was like a special butterfly with psychic powers and ties to Atlantis and all sorts of crap, and it was this new age thing.
Was she on Coast to Coast?
Well, probably, but I mean, it was
I've never seen her and Alex Jones in the same room.
Oh God, she might be Alex Jones. But no, it was either before. I can't remember if it was before or after. But at one point, she definitely claimed that her son was this supernatural, like, next step of human evolution, and that your children aren't really autistic; they're indigo children, and they have so much to teach us, and all this kind of crap. So
she has blood on her hands.
She's changed her story several times now, and like you said, Brandy, yeah, definitely, her advocacy against vaccination of children has led directly to, or help contribute to this movement, this anti-vaccine movement that's been causing measles and mumps outbreaks throughout the world and killing people.
Whooping cough. People are dying. Babies have died of whooping cough, which that was eradicated. That did not. I'm 30-some years old. I'd never heard of a baby dying of whooping cough until this bullshit started.
And it's just a terrible thing, because now we have people who think they've become experts on vaccines, and they're telling people, oh, don't listen to your doctors, don't believe what they say, they don't know what's best for your children.
Mommy warrior!
Yeah, she talked about her mommy instinct told her what was best for her son.
Oh my God.
So Jenny McCarthy, fuck yourself.
The other thing that I found really disturbing about this is she jumped on the autism spectrum bandwagon that so many people did in the 90s and 2000s, my son or my child is autistic, and I don't know that there really are that many kids. I'm sure that there are more in our society. I used to work with autistic children, but
it's like a badge for people to wear. That, oh yeah, I'm autistic. Yeah, I got that.
Asperger's is on the autistic spectrum.
Oh God, the competition for who has what disorders, I see that all over the place.
Yeah.
Well,
if you're just a little socially awkward, you can claim to be on the autistic spectrum disorder, I guess.
I was interested in your take on it, Liz, because of, you are a mom, and the whole, mommy warrior bullshit thing. I can't speak because I'm a spinster, so I'm not allowed to have an opinion, but I thought definitely Liz is going to have something good to say about this part.
Oh, yeah. I just get really upset about people who are anti-vaxxers and people that like to throw their kids into different categories when, in fact, there is no, definitive diagnosis made. I had friends who were saying, "Oh yeah, my kid's on ADHD medication. He's being treated by his pediatrician." And I'm like, a psychiatrist might be better for that, because pediatricians prescribing stimulants for kids they aren't familiar with in all that much intimacy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's hard to tease out ADD versus normal child.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me, sorry to jump back to Jenny McCarthy again, but just the other day I saw somebody talking about this very subject, about how she's now saying her son never had autism, and people were trying to point out all the damage she's done for getting people vaccinated, and the response that I'm seeing from a lot of these parents of autistic kids are, "Oh, she was such a great advocate for autistic children," and it's like they can't separate out the bullshit science and harm that she did from the fact that she brought attention to autism.
Yeah.
And there have been other positive celebrities, who've done great things for autism. Who is the football player? Oh my gosh. Is it Flutie?
I think that sounds right.
Doug Flutie.
Yep.
Doug Flutie, yeah. He is an actual advocate for autism and does a lot of good. He raises money, he raises awareness, has nothing about science, understands that he is a jock, he is a football player, and his stake in this is that his kid has this problem, and he is an advocate. And that's as far as I think celebrities really should go, is lending awareness and money.
Yeah.
Well, but I think people. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Liz.
No, I was just going to say he's got his own foundation and does all sorts of stuff to raise money because he's a local boy around here.
Yeah, Flutie Flakes. Woohoo!
Yeah.
But I think the problem with the anti-vax group is the same problem that we have all over the place, and that is people are ignorant. and the worst part of that is a little whooping cough there, huh? And the worst part of that is they're not aware that they're ignorant, which just compounds the problem. I talked to this person. I did a tweet last night, right? Because I got you guys. I don't know who was on that thing with me, but we talked to the author.
That.
Yeah, we talked to the author. I finally got my copy the other day on the myth of persecution of the Christians in the first century. Haven't read it yet. Just got it, but I tweeted that I got it, and this Christian person came back to me just to make this point, and she says, "Oh, well, that person obviously has their head in the sand and doesn't know anything. Christians were persecuted heavily in the first couple centuries," and so I engaged her in a brief conversation, and I said, "Well." I said, not to say that, because somebody has credentials, they're necessarily right, and I sent her the woman's credentials off the back jacket of the book, and I'll read them in a second. And after reading them, she goes, "Oh, well, that doesn't mean that she knows more than I do. I've read lots of books on Christian persecution."
There's nothing like refuting a book without reading it.
Right. Well, now here's the woman's credentials, and this is what gets me. And she dismisses this just like, well, we're like they're on the same level playing field or something. Candida Moss is her name. She's a professor of New Testament and early Christianity at the University of Notre Dame. Okay, not too shabby. She's
also a Christian organization.
Well, get going. She's a graduate of Oxford University, and she earned her doctorate from Yale University. I mean, she's obviously a slouch intellectually.
Yeah, clearly, right?
And why should we?
Notre Dame thinks so.
And why should we give her any credibility just because she writes a book? But that's the mentality that people have. So you have physicians all over the world telling you that vaccines are necessary, not just good for you, they're necessary for the general population.
Yeah, we're losing our herd immunity with this whole whooping cough thing. We're losing our herd immunity.
So
for people that can't take those
vaccines. Right, and you get people that are just basically idiots that say, I just don't believe it because, they can't tell me what's good for my child. And I'm like,
they call themselves skeptics too, and they're actually just flat out deniers.
Yeah.
Disturbing.
Well, deniers often call themselves skeptics, so.
Yeah. Disturbing. So the next on our list of what I ran across this using my stumble upon thing. I love that. That thing is great for picking out stories I wouldn't have found anywhere else or things I wouldn't have seen anywhere else. And it found me this thing. I called it "Got Brains." Like it was a story about this guy who was selling brains on eBay. He'd stolen them from the Natural History Museum, and was actually selling them on eBay. So for a time there, that link is in our show notes. You guys can look more up on that, but it pretty
disturbing.
disturbing.
It didn't stay on eBay for very long because they kind of have rules against selling human body parts.
I wonder what that went for. I need to look at that and see how much did those go for.
Stolen from a university.
A university, that's right.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
there a big
Tom,
market
I'm
for
sorry.
that?
Zombies.
Brains? Yeah, because they love to buy their brains on eBay. The
You
non-violent
gotta,
The
zombies.
if you
NWO
have to
hasn't
feed your
told
pet
them about
zombie,
that
that's
yet.
one way to go about it.
Got brains.
Google
Yeah, it looks like it was going on for some time
brains.
though. It wasn't a one-time incident. It was going on for some time. There was a supply, and I guess there was more than one break-in, and that's how the cops actually caught him. Agreed to buy some brains for several $100s.
I seriously thought it wasn't legal at all to sell that stuff on they banned that stuff on
Yeah, no
eBay.
guns, no tissue, no selling your soul. They have rules, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, even the soul. I mean,
Yeah, they
Well,
counted.
that was pretty good though. They
I
said
wanna
because
know,
you're
does
not
that-
actually selling a thing, then.
Does Satan have a PayPal account?
Satan
Devil?
at 666.com.
And what is the going rate for a soul? I'd really like to know
I know
that.
the one guy sold
Food
it, but I
sandwich.
don't remember for what. I don't remember how much he got for it. The one
He sold his
that
soul
did
for a
it.
chance to go to a bunch of churches, which kind of seems like a rip-off.
I think my soul's on its second mortgage right now, so it's upside down.
Yeah, he was
not
a,
bad.
Your soul's
layaway.
not worth that much, but you owe a bunch of money for it. Is that right?
yeah, but he got his students. He was a chemistry professor, so he sold a mold of souls.
A mole?
Oh, sorry.
Nice.
Okay, now this is the one I was hoping Liz would just go off on. I picked some with
Oh
Liz
no,
in
you're
mind, 'cause
setting
usually-
me up here, Brandy.
I'm trying because I'm the lone, as what did Erno call me, the token mouthy
The
female or
token
something.
woman.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, Liz is joining us. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, I don't have therapy today. It's later on.
Okay, so I'll just read the title and y'all have at it. Penis and vagina sex, always rape, says
Oh
crazy
yeah,
ass blogger.
we discussed this on in
Yeah.
words. Yes.
Yeah,
How
but
much better in Hangouts though? Oh my god.
I know that women never stick anything in their vagina, because
No.
that would be really bad. Yeah.
No, and we never had those urges to do it before we had sex.
Well,
do
and
not
would that
enjoy
be,
sex, everyone
there's a
knows that.
question, like, in this viewpoint, so then would masturbation that simulates PIV sex be a simulation of
Are
rape?
you talking about
I think so.
vibrators? Are you trying to pussyfoot around the word vibrator, John?
I think
sure,
he is,
so-
and
so
that's
is-
very good
So
for
is
us.
Phrasing.
is a woman using a dildo, is that simulating rape then?
No,
Yeah,
see, John,
according to her, yeah.
women enjoy putting things in their vagina because patriarchy.
Yeah, I'm like, what? What?
Well, wait a minute. I think a better.
You guys made us this way.
a
I
more
read this, and I
important-
just want to say my take on it. I didn't read the entire thing when it was posted, and I haven't finished it yet. I suppose I
It is a
will.
long article, but well
Right.
worth it.
This is unfortunately not something I'm unaware of. I'm aware of this viewpoint, and I just feel like that. When I see this, I think that there's some very unfortunate, traumatic history behind that
yeah.
viewpoint, and it makes me, rather than being infuriated that someone would say this, it just makes me sad. I think, wow, this person
This is a
is
person
dealing
who
with
has had
some
a
serious
broken past.
pain, and not necessarily that I hope this person says, "Oh, my viewpoint's all wrong." I just hope that person finds a way to deal with the very serious pain that obviously they have suffered and possibly still are.
But,
Well, thank you, Debbie
I
Downer.
think
I was going for outrage.
No, outrage is fine. Be
I was going
outraged all
for
you want,
what?
especially you ladies. Be as outraged as you
I
want.
am.
I just
That's
that was my
ridiculous.
first take on it.
Well, I think, for Michael, I think, a bigger question is, right, is that, here, a succubus gets her energy feeds off sexual energy. So what happens when a succubus pleasures herself?
It's just an endless feedback loop. There's
Is
a
that
hole
like-
in the
is that like
space-time
committing-
continuum.
Is it like
for him.
committing
I don't know.
suicide, or
The
yeah,
answer
is that
always patriarchy?
is that suicide by masturbation, or I'm just wondering how that would work out exactly.
no,
Okay.
it's a.
Dumbass, you're kind of quiet. What do you make of that? That penis and vagina sex
That's
is
really
always-
him into this.
Too
You're
much
all
of a,
quiet.
much of a good thing.
Well, I haven't read the article. I'd like to read that, but I'm just
The
thinking.
succubus article, or
Yeah, wouldn't it be
Succubus
cool if
articles
it was
as
like
a
a surprise
rant?
ending, and the person was arguing that it was the man who was being raped by penis and vagina sex?
No. So
No.
here's just to recall a basic fact. Intercourse/PIV is always rape, plain and simple. And later she says, first, well, intercourse is never sex for women. Only men experience rape as sexual and define it as such.
Huh? Say that. Read that again.
Men use women as useful objects and instruments for penetration, and women are dehumanized by this act. It is an act of violence.
Okay, well that's dead. Yeah,
If
that,
it's
that,
done
that follows.
right, I mean, am I right?
Yeah, exactly. If it's done right, exactly.
Hey now.
Some of us are
So
more.
basically, a woman who enjoys sex is not capable of self-realization because she's just been programmed by men.
Some of us are more violent than others. But
This
yeah,
is-
you got it, Brandy.
You talk about dehumanizing women. How
No
about telling them
kidding.
they can't enjoy sex, and if they do, it's because somebody's told them they should.
Yeah, that's what really bothers me about this
Mhm.
article, Michael. I mean, she just is going off on this, and I'm afraid that there are some young girls out there
Yeah.
who have had traumatic experiences themselves and just see this and never experience a positive relationship.
Yeah, for sure. Even
Right.
if it's alone, that's not the person who's gonna be able to enjoy a vibrator or anything like that. Just by herself, like, yep. If you have that view, you're not gonna enjoy anything having to do with your
It's
body.
like
or
a non-religious way of guilting them into not enjoying sex.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Am I correct that this is
It's a secular chastity belt of sorts.
this is like Dworkian feminism? Is that correct? Like that?
Andrea Dworkin, yeah, that's her. The sexist
Dworkin feminism.
Dworkin. Andrea Dworkin.
I don't know if you call that philosophy. Like,
yeah, it is. People study it at college. It's a thing.
Well, I'm not familiar with it, and I think I'll stay that way.
No, you are. You're familiar.
you're not really missing much.
I'm somewhat familiar with it. I've done a little reading on it. I'm not certain. By no means am I even. I don't even know if I'd even call myself a novice on it. I'm aware of the viewpoint. I don't know a whole lot about it.
She popularized this exact viewpoint that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I read about Andrea Dworkin, and my same thought was same as this was like, wow, I feel really bad for her. She said some things that some would consider very offensive,
It's
and
weird
I
to
just
me.
thought, wow, it's very obvious in the things she said in her viewpoint that she's had some, and her history was that she had some very traumatic experiences, and
It seems weird to me that people who have this kind of opinion call themselves feminists. Because what they're doing is they're not promoting this idea of women as self-actualized people with their own intentions and desires.
Right.
They're saying that women can't decide or think for themselves because men have crafted the way their brains and their feelings work.
Yeah, we
It's
don't
like
have free will.
Responsibility away from the women.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I thought it
want
was a
to give-
poem at first when I read it. I'm like, that can't be real. And then as I read it, I'm like, no, that is way too.
It reminds me
thorough.
of people who say that women, like people who call themselves feminists and say that women shouldn't dress in skimpy clothing because it's just doing it for the men. But I mean, some women like wearing those clothes. So if you're really for free choice for women, you got to let them choose what they want, not just what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah, feminism is
It's
about
also
choice.
it's also a really sad and depressing worldview too, because most people experience sex and they get married, and of course, when you're married, you have sex and things like that. And if you hold this worldview, then there's so much rape going on. People are just
every
miserable.
day.
Every day. In fact,
I
you
mean-
have to think, oh, mom and dad, wow, I'm a product of rape. That's terrible. Like, I
The
have to
only
hate
thing
my
that
dad
isn't
for
rape
that.
is gay sex, apparently, or actually even just that. Because in this article, it says that a man who has something which replaces a female orifice is rape.
But the scissoring is okay.
So,
Yeah, so only women having sex with women is not rape.
so wait, you and your fleshlight, that's a crime? What?
Hey, that fleshlight didn't say yes.
It's enlightening, though.
hey, it didn't say no either.
Not saying
Wow.
no doesn't mean it's okay.
Because
Well,
dead girls don't say no.
I knew
And
this
one
segment was
day
bothering
one day that audio clip will be used to my detriment.
I'm just. This is just me, but I'm fighting for my right to marry a fleshlight. So you know.
I
support your
Although my
right.
girlfriend might be a little freaked out by that thought, you'll have to fight for polygamy, I guess.
I'm curious, Michael. I'm curious. Are you talking about one of those little pen lights or the big 9-volt honkers? Big,
Insert race joke here that he's half black. Just insert joke there.
Is this something
Yes,
you're
well,
going to
just
mount
say
on
it's
on the front of a
what you
Jeep
say.
or
If I were you, I would take full advantage of that stereotype. Honestly, I'd be like, I'm half black. I'm just saying. Like.
I am half black and half you don't see.
Oh, God.
Some stereotypes are worth having. You know what I mean? Like.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes you hot, don't it?
Get him a mag light. There you are.
But
I got
the
a red one
author
downstairs.
The lantern batteries. Yeah.
The author is definitely right on one thing. I really like to stick my penis into things.
It's pretty instinctive.
Well, good for you, Arno.
And there's your friend blushing in the background. I don't know what's going on.
He's worse than me.
He's back there going.
He's wondering what's coming after the hangout.
The thing about this article that makes me really go, what, is the fact that all of the comments in response to this blog post positive and agreeing. And you get down to the bottom and you realize, to whom it may concern, I'm doing you a massive favor in being super nice and saying that I'm not publishing any comments which include the following. PIV as rape trivializes real rape victims. But I like sex, and you're insulting women or men who like sex.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk about a fucking echo chamber.
Yeah, I read that too.
It's
I won't be
horrible.
posting anything from men. I won't be posting anything for anyone who disagrees with me. Yeah.
Lost you there, Brandy.
She's muted.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. That was awesome. I knew that would bring people out of their shells. Next time, though, I'll make my what segment not things that I posted ahead of time. It'll be all fresh meat next time.
Yeah, so you can get a fresh what from me if I'm
yes,
actually...
a big shock of what.
Kill the podcast. Kill it now, while we still have the chance.
So I came up, while we were talking earlier, I came up with another what story for us. And this is from a little while ago, but it came up in the subject of our discussion of birth control and how that was affecting people's sleep issues. This is from February of last year. Conservative Christian radio host of the radio show Generations Radio, Kevin Swanson, went on a little bit of a tear about birth control. And he said, the title of this post is Wombs of Women on Birth Control Embedded with Dead Babies, which kind of gives you a little flavor of what we're talking about here. So he said, I'm beginning to get some evidence from certain doctors and certain scientists that have done research on women's wombs after they've gone through the surgery, and they've compared the wombs of women who are on the birth control pill to those who are not on the birth control pill. And they found that with women who are on the birth control pill, there are these tiny little fetuses, these little babies, that are embedded into the womb. They're just like dead babies. They're on the inside of the womb. And these wombs of women who have been on the birth control pill effectively have become graveyards for lots and lots of little babies.
What?
So this guy clearly does not understand how birth control works, yet alone how menstruation works.
What?
Well, he's just lying. He's saying he's talked to doctors who have seen this, and he's just making stuff up.
And certain
Well, I would like to know who these doctors are and what country they're practicing.
I think they're witch doctors.
The same guys who told Todd Aiken about how legitimate rape can be shut down because of the magical vagina.
Because magic, because women are magic. And you know what I was thinking? All of ethnic cleansing, like all the parts like Kosovo and all these places where there's ethnic cleansing, like, yeah, that didn't happen. Because why? Because if you're raped, then you won't have a baby. So ethnic cleansing has never happened. Never happened.
But if we're going this way, then I'm saying that the pixies are going to be born when I wank into that toilet bowl over there. Because we can make shit up, right? Because he's making shit up.
You know,
Rest
I
in
hate
peace,
to
Erno's babies.
point this out, Erno, but when you reached over your shoulder there, you were pointing at your coffee machine. I'm not sure that that's...
That's where I
ever.
and piss. Because that makes the best coffee.
Oh, instant, yeah. Creamer, yes.
Yep.
Pre-cream coffee.
Cream and water in the same pump.
You know what? I'm gonna go get some coffee.
I'm never drinking coffee again.
This guy thinks
Or
that
at least in Finland.
the uterus is full of dead baby fetuses, and somehow they exist without being impregnated.
Were there little tombstones too? Little stones, markers?
Died of dysentery.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
But
Maybe they'll have like a little society down there with dead babies.
they have parties, they have prom. You know, the next generation.
And a big burly blacksmith going cling, cling, cling.
There's surely a good cartoon to be made out of this somehow.
The fact that he thought that
A morbid cartoon, but a good one.
Like the
nonetheless.
Smurfs, right?
So he thinks that birth control doesn't prevent pregnancy; it just kills fetuses.
Right.
Well, that's what I would do if I had the chance, because they are tasty.
I don't.
Well,
This is one of those instances where if I were in this conversation, my simple question would be, what doctors and scientists?
Yeah, I think
Certain.
I think he thinks that women, instead of producing an egg, actually produce little tiny fetuses, and then the sperm energizes one, kind of like a battery in a flashlight, and then that one pops out and becomes a real baby. Yeah.
Well, no, it's like, because we are made in the image of God, women produce little tiny clay people, and men breathe the jizz of life into them.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Since we're just making things up, I believe they are becoming goblins. Like you get pixies from wanking in the toilet, and you get goblins from birth control. And oral sex. From oral sex, you get the gnomes that live in Finland.
Erno,
You have
it
also
flushed their
oral
own
sex.
lawn.
Erno, what does anal sex get you? I'm just curious on that. You know.
Ass gnomes.
Hopefully, it's not unicorns or anything painful. Okay.
Oh God, fucking assholes. Gotta watch out for them.
On that
The
note,
way I heard it, the woman goes into a cabbage patch, then a stork comes along, fucks her, and 9 months later she has a baby.
A baby stork.
Deformed baby that pleads to be killed.
Okay. Well.
I'm calling Rule 34 on that too. I'm sure it's out there.
Yep. John, your mom's not going to be proud of this episode.
He's
We
gonna
don't have to say
edit
anything about
this
it.
down.
Well, there's that. Okay, you guys ready to do the wrap up then?
Sure, why not?
Why not?
To die alone.
I have no idea what this is, but sure.
This will be at the end of the podcast, just the last little bit there. So that's going to be it for the episode today. I want to thank Liz for joining us again. It's been a while. It's good to see you again. And upcoming episodes, Mike Bowler, Skeptic's Guide to Conspiracy and the Bitch Spot Report. What do you got going on there?
Okay, for the Skeptic's Guide, I'm going to start my 9/11 show series. And the Bitch Spot Report, we got a guest that'll be we'll be recording Wednesday, a Mr. John Ownby.
Excellent.
Who's that?
Awesome.
Ask you,
It's going to be
Dominic.
interesting.
God, sounds like an ass.
I'm going to be like the antithesis of the ideas that you and Cephas have on some of those, but it'll be
That'll be good. A little friction.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Can I? When you do the podcast, can I call in and ask them about little babies in the womb?
Well, we can bring that up here during the show.
I would love to hear what Cephas has to say about that, actually.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be a good topic.
Women's issues? Asking Mike and some guy about women's issues? That'll be nice. I always appreciate the male perspective, especially
But of course.
Spontaneously like that. Like just blindsiding somebody with a question like that. It's awesome.
So what do you think about vaginal secretions?
Ew, vaginas. Ew.
Or governor ultrasound. What do you think of that? Transvaginal ultrasound.
Oh,
All right,
God.
so Dumbass from the Dumbass Media Empire. What do you have coming up next for the Dumbass Guide to Knowledge or the Dumbass Review Video Podcast?
Oh, yeah. Well, I finally, with everything that's going on, I finally managed to work out some time to work on it. I've already got most of the next Dumbass's Guide to Knowledge written. I've had it for a little while, but stuff has really been keeping me from it. But I did some work on it yesterday, and I'm going to try to do some recording today and hopefully get something out within the next few days.
Excellent.
Sweet.
And for next week, the episode of the Irreverent Skeptics podcast, we're doing First World Problems, where I promise to include a John rant about why the technology I love fucking sucks.
And will we have the First World Problems song? Will we have our...
And thank you so much to Tom and Cecil from Cognitive Dissonance for allowing us to use the audio clip for the What segment.
What?
And
We'll see everyone
song.
next week.
First World Problems, are we going to have that by next week?